But notice what Mordecai did after the horse ride. It says he went back to the king's gate. He went back to work. He went back to seeking the good of the people. That's a leader. He didn't bask in glory. He didn't build an altar to himself. He didn't name a ministry after himself. He didn't put his name on the church. No, I'm back to work. I'm seeking the good of God's people. That's the person God can use. That's a person whose motives are right. This guy's in it for the good. He wasn't promoting himself, and man, did he get promoted. He risked his life seeking the well-being of other people. I suggest to you, Mordecai really was other people-centered. You see the early pattern in his life, don't you? He took Esther, his relative's daughter, raised her as his own. And he loved her so much and was such a good father that she obeyed him as her dad, even when she was on the throne. I suggest to you, he did a good job. He was a man worthy of respect. So Mordecai risked his life, but when I look at Mordecai, I can't help but think of one who's greater than Mordecai. And that's Jesus. Jesus, the greater than Mordecai. He did more. Listen, notice the progression. Haman lived for himself. He died. He destroyed himself. Mordecai sought the good of others. God promoted him. Jesus Christ didn't just seek the good of his people. He came to save sinners. He's so much greater than Mordecai. Mordecai was doing this for his people. And that's a good thing. We're not downplaying what Mordecai did, but Jesus is so much greater. We read in Romans chapter 5, for when we were still without strength, when you and I were helpless and bankrupt, in due time Christ died for the ungodly. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die. Yet perhaps for a good man someone would even dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love toward us. And while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Jesus, the greater than Mordecai, listen, sought the good of all people. He seeks to save all people. In fact, we're told that he's not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. We're even told in the Old Testament, God says, I do not delight in the death of the wicked. God's heart is for people to turn, but not everybody's heart is to turn to God. But it doesn't stop God from reaching and seeking, and it shouldn't stop us. And Jesus, the greater than Mordecai, he gave his life for sinners like you and I.